Welcome to week 7. You're entering the final stretch of this course. So this week, you'll need to have completed a full draft of your research paper by Thursday, so you can complete the assignment 1, peer review of the research paper. The first topic that we'll be covering this week is visual rhetoric. Visual rhetoric is a fancy way of saying you're using images in design to persuade or cause a reaction in your audience. We'll first give some general advice and then go more specifically on how to create a presentation using PowerPoint. Creating a presentation is going to be part of your final project, as we said in the introductory video that goes along with your research essay. The reason we're doing that in this course is because for a lot of you, as you go off into the working world, you'll be creating presentations as well as writing papers. Now, some of these other aspects of communication, the business communications course here at City Vision gets into in more detail, but we did want to present some on that here in the English composition course as well. This week, we'll also be covering the second to last step in the writing process, editing, also known as proofreading. This is something I wasn't fully aware of myself until I started working on this course, that editing is different than revising. Revising is kind of a little more general. You're looking and revising at what are the ideas you're trying to get across in your writing and see whether is this really doing what I set out to do. It's a higher level process than editing. It's looking at your overall goals, the flow of your paragraphs, the style of your sentences, and your word choice. The editing happens then after all that's largely done. You're just going over your paper to make sure that it has the right grammar, spelling, punctuation, and the right formatting for whatever style you're going to be using. So in this case, it's about, in part, looking for making sure your paper is sticking to the City Vision writing standards. So proofreading is kind of a more mechanical process, and there are tools, computer-based tools that can help with proofreading. They can't help with everything. There's some commonly confused words, though, that they often miss. So we have a skill builder section that'll give information about that, and there's a quiz that covers that as well. Peer review, as we talked about in previous weeks, that can also be a good way to catch some of these mistakes, because if someone else looks at your paper, they can see it. And also reading your paper aloud, sometimes you'll catch mistakes when you read things aloud that you wouldn't have seen just when you look at it on paper. So as I said at the beginning of this video, this week you'll be submitting a full draft of your research paper for peer review. You're going to want to review this paper according to the rubric for research papers and give your honest assessment of how it would score in each of these categories. And then you're going to, in a supportive and encouraging way, do that for 2 other people as well, and offer suggestions to them on how their papers could be clarified and improved in your opinion. Don't just look at the spelling and the grammar on their paper, although that can be helpful. Also consider questions like how easy it was for you to understand what they were saying, how well you thought that they were proving their thesis, and how well their paper was organized. Those are what I talked about in the revising section as being the higher order concerns in writing. And it's a very important thing for people to get a handle on so that they can make sure that they're communicating as effectively as possible. So another thing to mention is that this week you'll be submitting just the first few slides of your presentation to the instructor. This is not to set in stone. This is what the presentation is going to be, so no pressure on that. It's mainly just to ensure that you know how to use these software tools, since you may not be familiar with using them before. So you want your instructor to see that. You may create this presentation in PowerPoint, LibreOffice, or Google Slides. The course materials describe how to create it in PowerPoint, and then also talk about how to export from Google Slides into PowerPoint, since that might be the most convenient way for some of you. So we wish you the best of success in your assignments for this week.